past 2 years, Zion Williamson has been at the center of a lot of controversies. The young NBA player has been embroiled in a legal battle since he left collegiate basketball, and much has come out about his situation since then. We'll be covering that and the issues surrounding the situation in today's video. Stay tuned to hear all about it. First, we have dropping Prime Sports. Back in 2019, after Zion Williamson declared his eligibility for the NBA draft and got picked by the New Orleans Pelicans, things took a dire turn. Before his NBA career actually took off, Williamson was approached by the talent agency Giant Creative Artists Agency, or the CAA. The thing is, Williamson was already beholden to a contract he'd signed with a different agency prior to leaving collegiate basketball. The agency's name was Prime Sports. At the forefront of this deal was Prime Sports marketing president Gina Ford, whom Williamson claimed he had duped into coming to an agreement with. According to the young basketball player and his lawyers, the deal he had signed with Prime Sports was illegal and therefore void, leaving Williamson free to engage with the CAA as he pleased. After allegations of threats from Prime Sports, he took the issue to court, suing Prime Sports for preventing his release. Prime Sports' response was to countersue Williamson for $100 million for breach of contract, fraud, tortious interference with the contract, civil conspiracy, unjust enforcement, and misappropriation and violation of the Florida Uniform Trade Secrets Act. It's a major lawsuit that could result in Williamson losing vast amounts of money just retaining his lawyers during what has already been a long, drawn-out legal battle. Next up, Slavko Duric's involvement. Whenever there's a competitive market, there are those that would seek to manipulate and corrupt it to their own benefit. People would go to any lengths to carve out their own piece of a lucrative pie. That holds true for the scouting industry more than you might expect, as promising talents that have a certain return on investment are hard to come by, and agents race to add them to their portfolios. Slavko Duric, Williamson's old agent, is one such opportunist. Someone that looks for a quick deal that he can benefit from most, regardless of its legality and how substantial it is to his client. He happens to be a major player in the Williamson Prime Sports controversy, being named in the suit as part of an affidavit put forward by a man who loaned money to Duric as part of a plan to represent Williamson. According to Williamson's lawyers, though, this was part of a scheme by Duric that the Williamson camp had little to nothing to do with. Duric himself claims that he was contacted by individuals that claimed they were a part of Williamson's inner circle. These individuals included Williamson's stepfather, Lee Anderson, and close friend, James Wells. After all was said and done, and Zion's family had received the $100,000 deposit that was stipulated as part of the agreement to have Duric represent him, the deal supposedly went sideways. Duric no longer heard from the numbers he was in contact with when it came to hashing out the deal, and he was left floundering. Though it's possible that Williamson and his family played Duric, we think it's more likely that someone with his experience in shady agency dealings would be responsible for the kerfluffle. And now let's discuss Slavko's previous scheme. The drama with Zion Williamson isn't the first time Slavko Duric had been in the spotlight for strange and potentially unethical dealings in the field of basketball agency. If you've ever kept tabs on the black market in the past few decades, his name might be familiar to you. 20 or so years ago, Duric had a brief stint in the media as a result of some truly bizarre agreements with Nigerian natives. Duric acted as something of a broker for a group of young Nigerians that wished to come over to the United States to pursue careers in basketball. The group included Mohamed Lasaji, Benjamin Eze, Uche Okafor, and a few others. Back in the late 90s, getting to the US was a lot harder than it is today. Their travel was rocky and involved an involuntary stay in Russia. While the group was there, they had time to reconsider their positions and had felt forced into signing pro contracts that put their NCAA eligibility at risk. Though Duric maintains that he always tried to get his clients the best opportunities and never took many to steer them in a particular direction, he did admit that he received benefits in the form of NCAA Final Four championship tickets. The only thing he had to say about this is that the interviewers can guess what he did with them. We have to assume assume that he made a decent pocket for himself by selling them, so it admits to the same thing, taking handouts as an incentive to steer his prospects in certain directions. So we're led to believe that Durick might have behaved in a similar manner when he was involved with the Williamson family. Next, we have Prime Sports countersuit. We started off this list by bringing up the fact that Williamson might have breached his contract with Prime Sports by signing with the CAA. But again, that isn't the whole story. The entire situation is convoluted by the mishandling of representation agreements in light of relevant legal statutes. Let's break down the issue in as simple a way as possible. So, Williamson's team's proposition here is that the deal signed with Prime Sports was in fact illegal from the very beginning. At the center of Williamson's lawsuit is the Uniform Athlete Agents Act, which is where it's stipulated that college athletes are prohibited from signing endorsement deals akin to the one that Williamson signed with Prime Sports, rendering it void and illegal. However, Gina Ford insists that the Agents Act doesn't apply here. Since Williamson had already expressed that he was not returning to collegiate basketball, that's part of the basis for Ford's countersuit, alleging fraud and breach of contract on the part of Williamson. Only time will tell which side the judge rules in favor of. And now, Prime Sports digs deep. Things are never simple when it comes to contentious legal battles like the one Williamson finds himself in. He's only 2 years into his professional career and is already in hot water, the likes of which no other green player has probably experienced. And if Prime Sports' demands are to be speculated upon, it might just be due to Williamson's own negligence and bad faith dealing. According to later demands by Prime Sports, the agency wishes for the Williamson family to disclose whether they took money from Nike and Duke to attend Duke University, whether an NCAA certified agent provided benefits to the family between 2014 and 2019, and also demanded that Adidas corroborate the Nike issue. These questions are definitely pointing toward the rumors and leaks that suggest Williamson and his family were openly dealing with multiple brands and agencies without disclosing their involvement with the others they approached. You see, Zion was actually involved with Adidas, as his father regularly approached representatives asking for jobs and money in return for swaying his son to move to Kansas, where Adidas has considerable influence. However, at the same time, Nike was also in contact with him to be a sponsor, steering him to Duke University, which is a Nike-sponsored school, and to go with Nike when he went pro. In addition to this, Prime Sports is also demanding that Williamson disclose where he and his parents were staying when he was attending Duke. It's a strange question, but it's likely to determine how committed he was to his earlier deals, potentially to use it as grounds to qualify fraudulent behavior. We'll have to see if this gets sorted out in court, but we can't discount the possibility that it might be settled out of it. Finally, the NCAA and inherent corruption. The NCAA, or National Collegiate Athletic Association, began as a means of protecting students and ensuring they were treated fairly. According to their policies, their athletes are students first, and so there was to be little compensation for individuals who focused their time in the sport. For the NCAA, their amateur athletes were those that primarily played in sport for fun. Fast forward a century, and things are a lot less cut and dried. Many now see the NCAA's policies as espousing indentured servitude. Considering the association is now quite similar to the NBA, however, they reap the benefits of their events while players receiving much less than they deserve. Considering the limitations the NCAA has put in place, it's a necessary consequence that those involved in the recruiting and sponsoring industries would resort to unsavory tactics. So if Williamson did commit fraud, we really believe that a major part of it was a result of the NCAA's outdated and manipulative policies. Many think that the Prime Sports countersuit may result in the issues with the NCAA being brought to light. So, picking a side in this case isn't as easy as you might think. That's a wrap for this video. What are your thoughts on this entire Zion Williamson debacle? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.